Hey, good morning everybody. Welcome to Spiritual Healthcare this morning, day 117. And I am live this morning from Toronto after just filming the third season of Haunted Hospitals. And I'm standing in front of the St. Lawrence Center for the Arts, which is, it's an incredible place, as well as right across the street we have the Hockey Hall of Fame, and behind me, it's the CN Tower. The CN Tower is behind me. Good morning from Toronto, everybody. And it's really windy today. It is crazy windy. But just finished filming, as I say, season 3 of Haunted Hospitals the other day. This is going to be kind of a weird spiritual healthcare episode, but I wanted to update everybody on the show, what we did. Some of the cases were incredible, and I got a really great question that came in as well on Twitter, so I thought I'd answer that also. So good morning to everybody. It is good to see you all. As I say, I'm standing in front of the St. Lawrence Center for the Arts here in Toronto, Ontario. We filmed the season 3, or at least my part of season 3, yesterday afternoon, and it went extremely well. You guys are going to be so excited. You guys are going to be so excited for the new season because some of the cases are absolutely incredible. They are absolutely incredible. So let me show you guys around a little bit. This is pretty cool. So I'm standing on Front Street right now, which is a main street in Toronto. And you guys can see behind me, that is the Hockey Hall of Fame. That actually used to be a bank that was built in 1885. And in 1885 was around the same time as the inception of hockey itself, which is kind of cool. And right behind me, as I was showing you guys earlier, where are you? There you are, is the CN Tower. And it's one of the tallest buildings. It's incredible. And you can go right to the top of it. I've not been to the top of it. I haven't had any time to do that kind of thing. So anyway, I wanted to update all of you. Good morning to Kaz. Good morning to everybody tuning in. Nice to see everybody. It is, as I say, it's a beautiful day here in Toronto. I don't know how you guys are doing. I hope your weather is amazing and you guys had a really good week. The weather here has been relatively warm. It's been hot. It is going to 28 degrees today, and Toronto humidity means it's probably going to be like 35, 36. So there it is. But there we go. There we go. So good morning to everybody. Good morning, Sally. Good morning, all of you. It is good to see you guys. It's good to see some familiar faces in this strange city. So season 3 went incredibly well, and I wanted to give you guys a little sneak preview of some of the cases that we're going to be dealing with. Probably the one that stood out to me the most yesterday had to do with a possession case, actually. And it was a case based on a report from a first responder, EMT, who ended up experiencing a girl who basically overpowered the staff, overpowered multiple men, and ended up was switching back and forth between personalities, just terrified the EMT, and it was definitely a case that stood out to me. So keep your eyes open for that one coming this season. It's gonna be a good one. Good morning to Janae. Nice to see you. It's good to see all of you. Another really interesting case for me this season so far has been we've had some interest. God, there was a bunch that I really enjoyed talking about. God bless these people, for coming on the show. The set this year was very different because, of course, we have the COVID-19 restrictions on set as well. So basically, everybody has to be masked except for the person being interviewed. And there's very limited crew on set this season as well. So the director, 2 people for lighting and audio, and our PA, and that was about it. So it was very different this season. Usually we see everybody. But yeah, so it was great. Everybody was amazing. Bristol Global Media, they blow it out of the water every single time. So anyway, some of the cases were really interesting. So we had some cases come in this season about residual energy that really challenged some of my conceptions about residual energy, and probably the most unique one had to do with a woman who had been pregnant, and you guys will see this in the third season that will be eventually airing. And basically what happened was that she was actually receiving residual energy that matched her vibration, and it was an element of this that I hadn't actually thought about before, so this was really cool for me. We ended up really having a great discussion about vibration and energy and how our vibration actually attracts what we see in residual energy as well as entities. So it was very interesting. The hospital that was in question ended up having there was a hurricane decades prior, and during the hurricane relief they brought in all of the survivors and whatnot. So there was a lot of trauma, there was a lot of just extreme experiences, extreme emotion, ups and downs going on, which left an imprint in the environment. And the woman who had come into the hospital, who was pregnant, was actually receiving the images around her of another woman who had been there prior who was also pregnant. It was really, really interesting stuff. So yeah, I can't wait for you guys to see all this. This is going to be super cool. So Mark's asking a question right off the bat. He was asking, in the Bible it says that human spirits can't come back. So if that's true, are all spirits bad? That's a really, really good question, Mark. I think that's a really common misnomer. And it's just simply not the case at all. When we talk about human spirits, it's usually such a joyful experience. And when you take a look at the academic history behind these hauntings and things like that, and you start to research into places like the Windbridge Institute and whatnot, you find very quickly that it's actually the complete opposite of that. And sometimes when we get when we get beliefs and ideals in the mix that are that can be controlling or something like that, and that don't really want us exploring outside of what they're telling us, then what ends up happening is that those things become evil and bad, and that's simply just not the case in this area of research at all. So I had a great question come in from Cha Ling that I wanted to talk about. For those of you guys who are new or are just joining us, I am live right now from Toronto. I just finished filming season 3 of Haunted Hospitals. I'm standing behind the St. Lawrence Center for the Arts, as well as the Hockey Hall of Fame, which is right there. It used to be a bank in 1885, and the CN Tower, lovely CN Tower. I'll show you guys that. It's so cool. It's good to be Canadian. So Cha Ling's question I thought was really great and really branched into the idea of whether or not we stay in this reality. So how cool is that? They were asking, do we actually stay in this reality, or are we constantly flipping back and forth between this reality and others? And so I loved this question. I thought this was great. So I'll tell you straight up what my experience has been, and because I don't think anybody knows 100% for sure about the answer to this, but what my experience has been is that there are a billion probabilities out there in the universe. There just are. When we look at the studies behind quantum physics, and we look at studies that are going on exploring the probabilities of and the frequencies of the universe, I think depending on our emotional state and our emotional frequencies, I think that has a lot to do with where we sit and what we end up attracting, what probability we end up attracting. The concept that I like to identify with the most is, many of you as kids will remember the Choose Your Own Adventure, and the Choose Your Own Adventure novels, you know, when you would go through a chapter, and depending on which journey you wanted to take, you got to pick which avenue, which storyline you wanted to follow. And I think the universe in a way is very, very similar, that we get to pick which journey we get to experience. One of the best analogies that I've heard was actually by Jesse Elder, and who's a really great speaker and thinker. And he was comparing it to the idea of a mansion or a hotel with a bunch of different rooms, like billions of different rooms. And wherever we put our focus, wherever our focus goes, the other rooms in the hotel begin to collapse, and we can no longer experience those anymore. And they collapse until we get to the room that we're standing in or that we've chosen. And I thought that was a really, really great way of putting it. I thought this was really cool. So yeah, I think we are changing that all the time. I think we are back and forth between frequencies and realities and all sorts of things constantly. When we take a look at there's been an idea out for a number of years about the veil, right? That the veil is thinning. The closer we get to death, that there's some sort of a block between our reality and another reality. And what I've found is that we seem to move in and out of those all the time, and with different people, right? Which brings me to the next question that came up that I thought was really, really great. And the question actually came from Facebook, and I don't remember who had posted it. I think it was Eric that had posted it. But he had been asking, are mediums and psychics actually classified in different ways? Are they classified in different ways, or do they all get lumped into the same category? So this really ties into our last question here. And because when people experience the world, we all experience it through different senses in different ways, which seems crazy because we all have the same senses, right? Or do we? I don't know. When we look at, I've used the example of my python before in spiritual healthcare, because he has all the same senses that we do, except he uses them in a completely different way. He can see heat, and he can taste smell, and he's got superpowers. It's really cool. So when we start to take a look at people who experience the world in a different way, even kids, for example, or adults that are autistic, people that are psychic, that may be clairvoyant, or might maybe hear things rather than see things. All of these different people who experience a spiritual world or experience this realm, oftentimes will do it in a different way, right? They will perceive this stuff in a different way. One of my favorite all-time people to work with in the paranormal field is my dear friend, Mr. Matt Spearin, who I've known for decades, and we have worked together throughout almost my entire career, and he's probably one of the best mediums I have ever met, and one of the most unique, because here's the thing, he doesn't perceive stuff in the same way that we think of mediums perceiving things. We think of them as seeing dead people all the time, or seeing ghosts just wandering around, and although he has had that experience, he's perceived it in a different way. Sometimes what will happen is he will perceive imagery. He will perceive different things like symbols showing up, or folklore showing up in front of him that he can't quite make sense of. And we often can't put those pieces together until later on. It's really interesting. So depending on the person that you're dealing with, how they're receiving it. Some people hear, some people receive through emotion. Esther Hicks explains it by receiving blocks of thought that are coming in. It's really cool. But it really does go to show that the more we start to try to label these experiences and stick them into a box, we end up limiting our understanding of really how the human mind and the brain and whatnot actually perceives this stuff. So we don't want to be doing that. We want to make sure that we are taking care in other people's experiences. Just because it wasn't your experience doesn't mean that it didn't happen for them. And this can be a really fine line in paranormal research, let me tell you, because this is where often you have to become very discerning between things like mental health and things like mental illness and stuff like that, and being very careful as to allow somebody their experience without enabling an illness or a delusion in some way. So it can be very tricky, and it's one of the reasons why assessments, medical assessments, and working with the right people is so important. This season on Haunted Hospitals, you guys are going to see a lot of that. One of the things that we had to deal with when it came to the girl who the EMT felt was possessed, which was the case I just talked about. We had to draw a very fine line between what is the symptoms of somebody who is psychotic or somebody who is dealing with a mental health crisis versus why this EMT thought there was something paranormal actually going on. We had to be very careful about that and draw the line firmly, so that there was a good understanding, and that we weren't sort of adding, I guess, to the mental health stigma that people who are mentally ill are possessed or demons are causing them to behave a certain way or something like that, because we don't want to perpetuate any of that. So anyway, I had a really great time here in Toronto, and I wanted to touch base with everybody, answer a couple of questions, and see everybody's names. I can't necessarily see your faces, but I can at least see your names. And I will be back in Edmonton for a regular spiritual health care on Wednesday next week. This week has been crazy. As I say, we've got projects coming up and filming and all sorts of things to do. But I wanted to touch base with you guys, answer some questions, and show you guys a little bit of Toronto. The other thing that I'm standing, actually, that I didn't show you guys, check this out. Okay, so this great big building behind me, that is actually Union Station. So it is one of the major train stations here in Toronto. It's massively huge. If you guys think of like the train station in New York City, Grand Central Station, Union Station is the equivalent to that. So there has been a lot of there's so much old architecture here. If any of you guys get to come to Toronto at any point in time, I know many of you guys are in the States, but if you are able to get to Toronto at any point in time, I highly recommend it. It's an incredible city. It's very similar to New York in a lot of ways, bustling, busy, and they've managed to keep the buildings, unlike a lot of cities which are just tearing them down. I will post some photos later today of an incredible church that I ran into near Queen Street, and it's absolutely beautiful. It was built in 1847, and it's amazing. So it's really cool. Kaz is saying he just got his passport this year. Yeah, that is awesome, you guys. It is amazing, and there is so much still to explore in this world. Even though we feel like we've been limited, we feel like there's only so much that we can do, or so many places that we can go. And really, the key is to just be careful, be safe. And use your common sense, but there's so much in this world that we still have to explore and understand. Sally's saying she'd love to visit Canada. Closest she's been is Niagara Falls. Yeah, no, okay, and it's not that far here from Toronto. Niagara Falls is Ontario as well, you guys, and it's an absolutely incredible waterfall. If you have not seen it, Google it. It is absolutely phenomenal, but there's so much to do here, and every season I come and film haunted hospitals and whatnot, and I just absolutely I love it here. It's really great. This and Vancouver. Vancouver is my favorite. My heart belongs to the West Coast, but Toronto is awesome. So Marge is saying she's been to Montreal. Now talk about history, you guys. Talk about history. That Montreal, it is probably one of the most historical places in Canada. The paranormal activity there is off the charts. There has been so much reported, and Montreal is it's absolutely a fascinating place. It's beautiful. So I'm going to post some photos for you guys that I've taken in my journeys around here. As I say, Toronto is an amazing place. My heart kind of belongs in Vancouver, but my partner lives in Vancouver, so I'm really biased. Well, in the BC area anyway, but I am so biased. But yeah, so I'm so glad to be able to see you guys. I will be back, as I say, next week. And I will be posting some more videos and stuff for you today. Thank you guys so much. I know this is a little shorter than our normal spiritual health cares, but I eventually have to get my butt to the airport. So there it is. Anyway, have an amazing day, everybody, and I will see you all next Wednesday on a regular spiritual health care. And hopefully the new season of Haunted Hospitals will be airing in the next number of months. Anyway, goodbye, everybody. See you soon.